Thank you for tuning in today. This is Cynthia McGilvray, your Balanced Method acupuncturist. So today we're going to look at vertigo, how to resolve that spinning, shaky, lightheaded feeling. The word vertigo comes from the Latin word vertere, which means to turn, whirl, or spin. When the room spins or we have that lightheaded feeling, it does feel like a wind blowing in our head, and we aren't wrong. Eastern medicine has long understood the wind element to be a pernicious influence. When the wind element is in excess in the body, we can also experience other signs of wind, such as tremors, twitches, rashes that migrate. It's the migration of the symptom. It's the movement of the symptom that is coming from the wind element. Headaches that are moving around the head. Joint pains that are moving around the body. Any symptom also that comes on rapidly or moves rapidly are said to be caused by the wind element. So in the case of vertigo or dizziness, the wind that's happening is in the head. I'm just going to go over three main patterns that explain about how this wind in the head situation has developed from an Eastern medicine perspective. And so the three causes that I'm going to look at here are known as extreme heat generating wind, liver fire generating wind, and deficiency of liver blood leading to liver wind. Okay, so the first one, extreme heat generating wind. Now, what this pattern looks like is a person may have a elevated body temperature. They may have stiff neck, spasms, tremors, in severe cases convulsions, or an extremely arched neck or back, spinal column, and this is seen in meningitis, tetanus, and there may be, in severe cases, there may be loss of consciousness or delirium. I have seen this where a person with extreme heat is starting to go into this, where they're speaking in a way that starts to not make sense anymore, and this is the extreme heat generating wind in the head. Other signs that indicate this pattern can be where a person is feeling very hot. They have poor tolerance to the hot weather. It can also come up when we've been having summer heat waves, can be the part of the factor that triggers all of this. When I take a person's pulse, I can feel their skin is abnormally hot, and the pulse will also be fast. So a very fast pulse is an indication of heat in the body. Now, in Eastern medicine, when we say fast, we're really meaning anything over 80 beats per minute, which isn't terribly different from normal, which is like perfectly normal is 72 beats per minute. So 80 is not that much up. But in Eastern medicine, we're always looking at the finer details because we want to catch things in the early stages so that we can prevent a situation from getting worse, from escalating. We're always trying to bring the body back into balance. When the person has vertigo, so, with extreme heat, it's not uncommon to see 100 beats per minute. I would be expecting this really. So it's very common. Now, the tongue will show up as bright red, and it can also have a yellow coating. If the heat is long-standing, the tongue may show up with cracking. So the cracking is like the desert, right? Extreme heat in the desert and the earth cracks. So this shows up on the tongue. Isn't it interesting, right? These parallels. It just fascinates me. So people with heat-related vertigo may also have ringing in the ears that is of a high-pitched tone. Now, the head is the area of most yang. When we're talking yin and yang, the yang indicates the heat. So the head being the highest point in the body, and we know from thermodynamics that heat is always rising to the uppermost point. And when the head gets hot, then there is wind generated. So this is very similar to a wildfire storm out in nature. Okay, so the main problem here is the heat. The wind issue is secondary. Okay, the vertigo is secondary to the heat. So in terms of healing this vertigo, the main priority in this particular pattern is to clear the heat, which is another way of saying inflammation. And once this heat gets cleared, the wind or the vertigo will naturally start to abate. And this is similar to, a windstorm gets generated by a wildfire. And, here's a picture. You can see the palm trees are getting fiercely blown around during a wildfire. And so what happens is that in this storm, the wildfires draw in wind from the outside. In other words, the yang of the fire is generating more yang in the form of wind. They're both part of the yang, and they're synergistically feeding off each other to create more fire and more wind. So in terms of the vertigo, I've seen good results from using fire clearing gauze on the channels that are indicated by a person's tongue and pulse. Now, first of all, I'm going to be looking at the small intestine channel because this channel carries the most heat in the body, and the second to that is the heart channel. So experience has shown me that clearing heat from these two channels in particular can be very effective in this instance. And when the body starts to cool down, the vertigo tends to dissipate and the person comes back into balance. I've seen a person with severe heat where, they were going into delirium, they were going into loss of consciousness, and were able to pull out of all of that once the heat cleared. And I saw the heat clear very quickly within basically 1-2 treatments in a heat wave. So yes, it is possible, but the heat is the primary issue. Now, the second pattern is liver fire generating wind. Here, the experience of dizziness will feel more like a vertigo, like the room spinning kind of experience. The pathology in this case is the liver channel primarily, often with stagnation of energy in the liver channel that leads to the development of liver heat. In this case, the tongue will still be red. It may be a purplish red color, and or it can also have curling of the sides of the tongue. That's a very clear indication of liver heat, the sides of the tongue representing the liver. Now, the pulse can be fast. It can also be showing fullness or like a wire feeling, wiriness on the liver pulse position. Some may also have headaches that are behind the eyes. The eyes being the outward manifestation of the liver energy. You can also have the ringing in the ears again with a high-pitched sound indicating liver fire. Now, they don't have to have all of this, just 1 or 2 is enough to necessitate treating this pattern. Now, the liver system has the most affinity with the wind element. So this means that a poorly balanced liver energy will create internal wind disturbances, such as those that I mentioned before, right? The little bit of tremor can happen. Now, in this case, regulating the liver energy will cause the wind element to dissipate. The acupuncture treatment here is about descending the liver heat from the head, as well as balancing both the liver and its sister organ, the gallbladder, to dissipate and control the wind. Now, if you look at this picture here, this is the 5-element system. Now, the way you can see where these arrows are pointing, you can see that where the wood element is being controlled by the metal elements, little arrow, gray arrow of the metal, which controls the wood element, which is the liver gallbladder. So here I use metal gauze to control the wood, to control this excessive wind in the liver and gallbladder system. And it has a function of controlling the excess manifestation of the liver gallbladder, which is the wind. And also for this pattern, I will also use points on the governing vessel channel, which have the function of controlling the yang, which is wind and fire, both at the same time. So very effective. Now, the last pattern is deficiency of liver blood leading to liver wind. Now, this is a deficiency pattern. So in this case, the dizziness is felt more as a light-headedness. It's a more faint kind of experience. Often people with this pattern will feel better from lying down. And because the dizziness is coming from deficiency, and a hallmark of deficiency patterns is improvement from rest. So there will be weakness, a fatigue, and a faintness with this picture. There can also be blood sugar issues, okay, hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. The tongue will tend to be pale, okay, so different from the red tongue of the heat patterns. So here we get a pale tongue. The sides of the tongue may be even more pale, and in extreme cases, the sides, I've seen this, the sides of the tongue can be orange. The pulse will be weak overall and can be even weaker in the spleen and the liver positions. Now, with liver blood deficiency, the healing is more about nourishing the liver blood both energetically with the acupuncture and with liver blood building foods. So the acupuncture here is targeting the liver and the stomach and spleen to allow the earth element to harmonize with the wood element, the liver and gallbladder. Okay, so this is, again, according to the 5-element system, we need to have harmony between these two elements. And when the spleen and stomach energy is stronger, we will see improved absorption of nutrients because, as we all know, like the old expression, we are what we eat. Okay, that's correct. However, one step further in Eastern medicine, we are what we digest. So if we cannot digest the food, then we're not absorbing the full amount of nutrients that we could be. So we want to get that spleen and stomach nice and strong so we're getting full absorption of all that, good food. We want to really maximize getting the most that we can from our food. So in this case, I may use an earth gua on the liver, gallbladder, stomach, and spleen channels. So there you have it, 3 causes of vertigo or dizziness from an Eastern medicine perspective. So if you or someone you love is experiencing vertigo or lightheadedness, Eastern medicine and acupuncture have much to offer in terms of diagnosis and effective treatment. So you can reach out to me and let's get you on a path to good health. Thank you for tuning in today, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video.